Well, good evening, everybody. My name is Zach Marks. I'm the principal over at Lucom Elementary School, and I want to welcome all of our kindergarten students and parents to our kindergarten moving up night. Whether you guys are attending this moving up night live, even though it's virtual, or you're watching the recording later on, I just hope that you guys can gain a little bit or get a little bit of knowledge about what to expect over the next couple months. And when August rolls around, you guys will be bright and ready to roll. We have three really strong kindergarten teachers, and I think most of them are on here. Miss Hansley is on here. I saw her a second ago. Miss Lauren Chambers is up here as well. Miss Frazier is not joining us tonight, but she has a legitimate excuse. She just had a baby a couple of days ago, so I guess she is allowed to miss tonight. But we're excited for Miss Frazier. Mom and baby are doing great. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over. And we also actually have Coach Thompson, our PE teacher. I think I saw Miss Winders pop up here, and probably Miss Bogus, our art teacher as well. And Miss Winders teaches music. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Miss Dawson, our school academic coach. She's going to kind of get us rolling. And I think Miss Hansley and Miss Chambers will be jumping in as well. So thank you. And I hope that you guys have a great evening.
We just wanted to let you meet the team. I am Miss Dawson, and I am on the kindergarten hallway, so we decided to let me be a part of this one. We have Miss Chambers, Miss Frazier, and Miss Hansley, and there are pictures of all of them, so you can feel like you're getting to know them a little better. And Miss Chambers is going to give you a little information about what they need to come to kindergarten.
Hi, I'm Ms. Chambers, and this is my first year at Lucama, and I'm excited for another year. I'm just going to kind of go through some life skills, some kind of school readiness skills that students will need when they enter kindergarten. The first one is bathroom routines. They just need to be able to take care of all their bathroom needs independently. We understand that accidents happen, but for the most part, they need to be independent. With this, and that includes washing hands. That's a very important one always, but especially this year for sure. And then cleaning up their own space, just kind of taking care of their materials, keeping up with the things that are theirs, and leaving other people's things alone is kind of the point there. And then also meal times. We just ask that, they're independent with their milk containers, straws, juice boxes, any food packages. So just, over the summer, if they're eating snack, allow them to open up their containers by themselves or teach them how to. I know in the classroom, sometimes we have scissors that they can use to open some things, but if it's something that they should be able to open with their hands, then they need to be practicing those things. The next point is about just kind of their clothing and shoes, any buttons, laces, zippers, how to put on a jacket. Those are things that are really helpful when students know how to do by themselves. I know that, it's when you're helping them, it's okay because, it might be just them or just them and siblings, but, with a classroom full of kindergartners, it's hard when we don't know how to put on coats or if we're tying shoelaces all day, that's valuable class time that we're missing out on. The next one here is just coughing, nose blowing, hand washing. That's just a germs and safety thing. We've been working on that a lot this year and making sure that our classrooms are the cleanest and the safest that they can be. So those things are very important. Coughing into their elbow and using tissues to blow their nose. Right now we've been wearing masks and we have to, remind them you still need to get a tissue. So those are some things that we ask that you practice with them. Packing and unpacking their book bag. This is something that they do in the morning by themselves and in the afternoons when they get ready to leave. And so the more efficient they are at that, the smoother those transitions are. And then just respecting property. That includes their things that they're borrowing in the classroom, and then other students' property as well. We just ask that they use them appropriately, safely, and then make sure that they are taking care of those things so that we can use them all year long. And then just any other independence, anything that they can do independently is great. It's a really big transition for them. It's their first time for some of them being away from home or being in a typical school setting if they were in a child care center before. And so just anything that they can do independently is just really helpful, and it just helps them with some autonomy and gets them ready for all that we're going to learn. Okay, this is me too. I'm going to talk about math for a little bit. So math is kind of my forte for sure. I really enjoy math. And so these are some things that that we need for them to have when they come to kindergarten so that we can take them where they need to be by the end of the year. So listed on this slide here, we have geometry, counting and cardinality, measurement and data, operations and algebraic thinking, and then numbers and operations in base 10. Those are the 4 areas that our math standards fall in our curriculum. But for geometry, just knowing their basic shapes, circle, square, triangle, and rectangle will really help them be successful when they're with us and we are talking about geometry and learning the new things. We take them into shape attributes and into 3D shapes. And so if they can have a basic understanding of or being able to identify some basic 2D shapes, it's really helpful. And then positional words, over, under, above, below. Those are things that I feel like we incorporate into day to day, but just making sure that these kiddos understand when we say, oh, you know, can you hand me that piece of paper? It's under that notepad right there, or under that pencil, that they are aware, because it helps with shapes as well. And then for counting and cardinality, we just would like for them to be able to identify and write numbers 1 through 20 and then count to 30. And so by the end of kindergarten, they'll need to count to 100. But for the start, we'd like for them to be able to count to 30 and then just writing those numbers. And with writing those numbers, we might talk about this later on too, but just making sure that they're holding that pencil correctly, because once they form that grip habit, it's really hard to adjust it. And so if they're holding that pencil correctly, it helps them with stamina and being able to write longer, and 2, just forming the letters and numbers appropriately. So if they're identifying and writing numbers 1 through 20, that's a great goal for the start of kindergarten. And then for measurement and data, just knowing how to sort things. So we'll take them into kind of exploring measurement and different things that we can measure and how to measure, but just knowing that objects can be sorted by size, color, shape. Those things are a good foundation for them to have to help us build on that. Operations and algebraic thinking, the skills that I mentioned earlier will really help with that. So just being able to identify and write numbers is really helpful for that. And then numbers and operations in base 10, those teen numbers is where that comes into play. And then just really recognizing that numbers have a sequence and a pattern, and that really helps them when we get to talking about teen numbers. All right. Miss Hensley, are you ready to talk about Letterland?
Yes, always. Hello, I'm Miss Hensley, and this is my first year teaching kindergarten at Lucama. I've been at Lucama about 6 years, and I've been in first grade. I've taught school forever. I've enjoyed being in kindergarten, and it's way different than what it was about 25 years ago when I taught. So that's one reason we wanted to do this night, so that you guys would be aware of what kindergarten is like now. I'm really excited to say that we have Letterland at Lucama. I taught in Wake County for 12 years, and all the schools there do Letterland. And I was kind of wondering what was I going to do when I came back to Wilson and we didn't have Letterland. But I was excited to know that there were enough people interested in it that we are very fortunate to have it at Lucama. And not all schools do in Wilson County, but it is a phenomenal program. It is as you can see, that first bullet says it's a systematic, sequential, multi-sensory phonics program. And it has been proven to help kids increase their reading development. The letters all live in the magic land of Letterland, and they all have pictures. Here's just a few of my tiny little Letterland cards. Here's Annie Apple. See her? And there's her apple stand. They all have songs and actions. Here's Eddie Elephant. That's the capital letter. And this is the lowercase letter. But they all have songs and actions, and they learned all of the sounds and how to write the letters. and how to blend words together, and it's done very systematically. The kids absolutely love it. Some of the characters are silly. There's a storybook that even goes along, and all of the characters have their own story. Here's Lucy Lamplight. She lives in Letterland, and she has her story about the things that she does in Letterland and all the words that she is in, like land and leg and log. So the kids learn all those sounds and what they are and all about what each letter does in Letterland. And then they're able to use those letters to start blending words together, consonant, vowel, consonant words. And then at the end of the year, like what we're doing right now, we're going into some blends. And then when they get into first grade, it continues, and they even do more with those blends and those sounds. So it's a really integral part of our English language arts that part of our day. And you're going to have your kids talk about all these crazy letters that live in Letterland, and we have Yellow Yo-Yo Man and Clever Cat and Harry Hat Man, and you'll hear them talking about them, but there's a reason, and it is a phenomenal program. Like I said, I've used it for years, and I believe in it, and it's really helped our kids when it comes to reading. So that's a really good plus for Lucama Elementary and the kindergarten program.
Hey, I'm Miss Dawson, and I am on the kindergarten first grade hallway, and I am our academic coach, but I work really closely with kindergarten and first grade with reading especially. I have a reading background, so I'm going to share with you some things about reading that will really help if you work on them over the summer and just kind of have them prepared. So when you are reading with your child at home, and I know you all are because that's super important, and you can go to your library, the library in Lucama, and pick up books. Chick-fil-A is giving out books. I mean, you can find books really anywhere. But when you are reading with your children at home, it's really important that you do a couple of things. When they begin kindergarten, it's important that they know how a book works. And so if they know that you open a book up and you start on this side of the page because that's where the words are first, and that you start at the first word, that's super important. Knowing which direction we read in, and this ties in with Letterland, we read in the reading direction. So we go from the left to the right when we're reading. If you have smaller picture books at home, if you could have them point to the words while you're reading, or also asking them, what do you think this word can be based on the picture? That's a huge strategy that we use in kindergarten. Is we always say, if you are stuck on a word, the very first thing you should do is look at a picture, and that will help you figure the word out. And then after you finish reading, have discussions with your children about what you read. Like, who are the characters in this story? Where did this story happen? Was there a problem? Did you like this story? Why did you like it? Why didn't you like it? Like questions like that, just to really get them, one, communicating, because they're going to have to do a lot of talking with their teacher in kindergarten. And two, like that shows them that you're interested in reading too, and they will be interested in it as well. Another thing that is really helpful, and they will learn this in kindergarten, but if they understand the difference between a letter, a word, and a sentence, we don't expect them to be writing sentences or anything, but if they are able to understand that this single formation is a letter, and then when I have a string of letters together, that becomes a word, and then when I have a string of words together, that's a sentence. It's really helpful. And if they know, a period, an exclamation point, and a question mark, that's even better. So definitely where you start reading, what direction you go in, and have conversations with your children about the story. Really get them talking. We also have a list of the common sight words. They do not need to know all of these to come to kindergarten, but it is super helpful if you do, start recognizing some of these. We have played games and stuff in my room. I have written, you can do this very simply. You can go to Dollar General and find all of this stuff. You can write the sight words on an index card, get a fly swatter or like a pointer little thing, and lay them out, and then say, I, and they would just kind of hit the word I, or you could say look, and they would have to hit the word look. You can also do that with letters and numbers. It's just fun stuff to start getting them interested in words, interested in letters, numbers, and reading. And then this slide is kind of about things that you definitely need to work on this summer to have your child prepared for kindergarten. If you don't hear anything else during this presentation, this is the most important thing. It is super important that your child can write their name. Understanding that their first letter is uppercase and the remainder of their name is lowercase, unless they have, additional like double names or something like that in there. But that is extremely important. It's very important that they know the letter names. You can go on YouTube and you can actually search Letterland on YouTube, and you can find all of the Letterland characters. If you just go to YouTube and search Letterland characters, they will all come up. You can listen to the songs before they come to kindergarten. You can listen to the handwriting songs. They will tell you stories about them, like the book Miss Hansley showed. If they do know some of their sounds, that is super helpful. Again, they will learn all of this, but this is just kind of giving them a leg up on, some of the other kids. If you start doing this now, they will definitely be prepared for kindergarten. And writing letters, again, you can look on YouTube and search the Letterland handwriting songs, and you will find all of them there. That's how we teach it at school. Identifying numbers 0 to 20. Again, you could put them on little index cards, and you could say 1 and hold up a 1, and then they go find the 1. And most of them really do understand 0 through 10, but it's when we start hitting like 16 and 17 and numbers like that, they get confused. Again, we talked about counting. If they understand the sequence and the pattern of counting, that is helpful. By the end of kindergarten, they are going to have to count to 100. And I know that a lot of the kids understand 1 to 10, and they can go from 10 to 20, but when they hit 29, 60, like they just shout out a random number because they aren't sure like what comes next. So if you are reminding your child what comes after 2, it's 3, then you go to the 30s, kind of things like that. Another super important skill in kindergarten, and I know that this really scares parents, is letting your child cut with scissors at home. Please do this in a safe environment, but they really need to practice. 1, it'll help their hand strength and they'll be able to write better. Let them play with Play-Doh if they don't have good hand strength, but it is very important that they start practicing cutting with scissors at home, because they are going to have to do that in kindergarten, and it just makes their life and their teacher's life a little easier. And then write as much as possible, writing their name, writing their letters, writing their numbers, all of that. These things right here, if you work on these things before your child comes to kindergarten, they will be super prepared, and our teachers will be able to take them exactly where they need to go for first grade. And that is the end of our presentation. So Ms. Hansley, Ms. Chambers, if you have anything you want to add.
I was just going to say, I was looking there where we have cut with scissors, and I know Miss Bogus is here, and she's our art teacher, and she might even want to speak to that. But also working with glue. We've got some kids that come in and they know how to use a little bit of glue, and we do have to talk about that and teach that. And I know Miss Bogus does in art. But then we have some kids that come in and twist the whole entire tube up, and then in 2 seconds, the entire tube is gone. So that's another thing that kind of goes along with cutting and pasting and that type of thing. That is helpful. And Ms. Bogus, if you want to speak to that, great. If not,
Hi, I'm Miss Bogus. I'm the art teacher. When cutting, sometimes when the kids come in, they'll have their scissors and they'll hold them all kinds of different ways. If you can practice with them, the small circle is for their thumb, and then the oval is for 2 fingers, and their thumb always points up, and you can just have them practice like this to make their fingers stronger, and they love to chomp, chomp, chomp. So if you just let them chomp, chomp, chomp the air, it'll strengthen their hands, And because when they do it different ways, they're twisting their hands and it's really uncomfortable and they really don't know any better. And that's one thing we'll work on. We'll work on the gluing and we'll work on drawing big, and we'll explore different shapes and colors and lines and different artists. So those are a few things that we'll work on in kindergarten. Play-Doh, someone already mentioned that, will be great. Just anything you can expose them to. You know, it's fun, they enjoy it, and it'll help out a lot.
I have a little tip too for cutting with scissors. If you give them something to kind of hold between their body and their arm, it automatically makes them keep their elbow down, that thumb up, and cut away from themselves instead of cutting towards them or flipping their hand up. But they should have like just a piece of paper, or it can be a card, anything that they have to keep right here. It's just a little trick to help them cut in the right direction and keep those scissors turned the right way. I also wanted to share another YouTube resource. Jack Hartman is our friend, and he has tons of videos on YouTube for sight words, for number identification, counting to 100, and then letters and letter sounds as well. So he's a good resource on YouTube that you can look up as well.
Everybody hang on for 1 second. Thank you so much for coming. Again, the most important things that you can do are read with your child, work with your child on writing their name, YouTube their letters, their numbers, Jack Hartman, Letterland, and using scissors. Again, thank you so much for coming. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to email or call the school, and one of our kindergarten teachers will reach out to you.